Okay, so moats, what is a moat? Well, moat is a name that Buffett coined, is a much better analogy than strategic competitive advantage. And what that is the characteristics that a business has that will stop its competitors from coming in and stealing its customers or its profit. A moat is, in the traditional sense of the castle, is the business, and the castle is surrounded by a moat, which is like a ditch full of water. And then Buffett says you want the moat to be deep and wide and full of piranhas and crocodiles. And what he means is it's the first line of defense on the company. There's different types of moats, and one of the things we do at Teaminvest, and it's what Buffett does, is he looks for companies with deep and wide moats. Because when you look at earnings and you look at the company's ability to keep growing its earnings over an extended period of time, which is critical if we want to get a good total return on our investments, we need to have companies with good moats and strong moats, because this enables the business to make returns that are greater than they would not make otherwise. In other words, does the company have any pricing power? Does it have the ability to put prices up faster than inflation? And does it have specific attributes that make it very, very difficult for a competitor to come in and steal their customers away from them? So what type of moats are there? Well, there's several, and one of our missions in life is to define and understand what the moats are for individual companies, and then we want to evaluate how wide and how deep they are. In other words, how durable are they? Does a moat last forever? No, of course not. It has to be tended. You've got to dig out the silt. You've got to clean the weeds out. Otherwise it'll silt up and the ravaging hordes will come in and steal away your clients. Another very effective moat is efficient scale. This is where a company builds itself into a position where it has real cost advantages on production. A good example of this is CSL, blood plasma company, an Australian success story. They are now one of the two top blood plasma companies in the world, and they have collection centres all over the world, and they have very, very efficient processes, and they can amortise their costs of research and development over a very large company base. This gives them an enormous scale advantage of somebody new coming in who don't have that advantage and have to spend a lot more money on R&D and have a higher cost base than CSL does. Okay, another example is airports, like Sydney Airport. They have a geographic moat and also a monopoly moat, because if you think about it, there's not going to be another airport built anytime soon near Sydney, maybe one at Badgerys Creek one day. But this is a very, very strong moat, and it guarantees that they have complete control of all air traffic coming into Sydney at this stage. Another example like that are toll roads. Same thing. You know, they have a contractual, long-term, exclusive relationship, and they own the toll on the road or the bridge or the tunnel, and they're never going to have a competitor. The only downside with these sorts of companies is they often have quite low rates of return, because their earnings are so reliable, people recognise that, and they're willing to pay quite a high price for those earnings. A good example of a very strong moat is a network moat. This is where you have a company that owns all the customers. So for instance, realestate.com.au became the dominant real estate portal for people looking for houses in Australia. Because all the consumers go to that site, all the advertisers then have to advertise on that site. So you end up with this fortuitous meeting of consumers and advertisers, and once established and you have a dominant position, it's very, very difficult for any competitor to come in and steal that business away because of habit. The habit of people who are used to using it, they don't change easily. Warren Buffett owns well over 80 private companies. He has 9 companies that that are owned privately, that if listed to be Fortune 500 companies. When he meets with his management each year, he has 2 key questions he asks them. What has their earnings growth been for the year, and what have they done to strengthen their moats? That's the emphasis that Buffett puts on it. So he sees the moat as being critical to the long-term success of his businesses, and we apply the same thinking when we analyse companies in Australia for investment. So from a Teaminvest member's point of view, moats matter because they actually give us a much, much stronger level of confidence on future earnings, and we can then calculate what our returns will be, and we can work out what is the right price to pay for a particular company to ensure we get the returns we expect.